Welcome, everybody, to the Three Gun Show. I'm your host, Dave Hartman, and this is episode 301 of your favorite podcast, your favorite weekly podcast, covering all the great stuff in the shooting sports. We love Three Gun, but we love all that other stuff too. We like pistol matches. We like rifle matches. And, even shotgun matches. We love shotgun matches. Shotgun's fun. Shotgun gets a bad rap. That's almost its own show at some point here, but I feel like shotgun gets a bad rap because, I don't know, it's a loading competition. I don't know, people are lazy. I have no idea. I like shotgun. I like rifle. I like pistol. I just like shooting things, and sort of got off track there, but this is the Three Gun Show once again, and we're here to talk about some Three Gun topics today. We're also going to be talking about some PCC and some pistol topics. Strange, I know. This is episode 301. If you listen to episode 300, you may have heard that I suggested new divisions for Three Gun, and I've gotten a lot of great feedback, a lot of constructive feedback from people in the community. And one of the pieces of feedback that I got is that people actually like the format of the podcast, which is just me talking on the mic. And so here we are again. It's just a solo episode with your buddy Dave. Now, if you're more interested in the interview podcast format, we will have one of those next week with our buddy Scott Green making a comeback. Haven't seen that guy in so long, and I was talking to him the other day. We figure it's got to be at least 2 years. And that is a damn tragedy right there. So we're going to get Scott Green back on the podcast and talk all things open as my buddy Forrest. Alarm going off there. As my buddy Forrest Lathrop tries to make the transition from TAC Ops to open. He's come up with a lot of questions. And we're going to get some expert advice from Mr. Scott Green, and we'll do that next week. But this week, what we have is a Q&A episode. So after all the fluster and the buster of last week's episode where we talked about new divisions in Three Gun, and if you haven't listened to that, I recommend checking it out. If you're listening to this in a podcast player of some sort, just go download the other one, 300, and listen to that. You don't need the context for this one, but just, when you're done, check it out. And so because of that, I thought, well, let's open it up for Q&A. And I figured most of the topics would be based on that podcast, but actually surprisingly not. So we've got a wide-ranging podcast today. We had several dozen questions. I put this out on Instagram. If you follow me on Instagram at 3Gun Show, I put this out on Instagram and said, hey, you got a question? Let me know. And you might be selected to answer on the show. We got a couple dozen. I think I'm going to go through 12 or so here. We'll see how much time we have. But so that's what we're going to be doing here. So let's jump right into it. First, before we do that, 3gunshow.com/301. If you want to just read these questions, or if you forget later or something like that and you want to go back and read them. First one is from Writing Josh. And Writing Josh says, a lot of these questions are truncated because they only give you a little bit of space, so I'm going to kind of interpret them as necessary here. So first one, favorite rifle shooting platform. AR, of course. America's rifle, baby. That was an easy one. So this next one here is from Madawanivad. And Madawanivad says, how many divisions are even necessary? Ooh, that's a good question. Man, right off the top of my head, I say 3. And that's the reason I talked about them in last week's podcast. I'd say limited, TAC, and open. Those are the 3 big divisions that have the most participation. And the reason I say that we only really need 3 divisions is a lot of matches you go to, and if they have like 6 divisions or something like that, you'll have 5 or 2 or 10 players in a division. And is that even fun? Like, it's all about the competition, right? So don't you want to have like a ton of people in there? I do. But I guess if you're hunting trophies and not necessarily there to find out who's best, then maybe you don't want that. But that's what I want. I want the best division, or excuse me, the best competition. So I say 3, limited, tack, and open. Now, as the match gets bigger, I'm all for adding different divisions. And if your match presents something interesting, add different divisions there as well, right? So for larger matches, I say definitely add a lady tack division. That does, fair things up for the ladies, and it also attracts more ladies to your match, which is always a good thing. Just like free drinks on ladies' night, more women are a good thing in most situations. So I would say add lady tack in that, which is basically just the way that Texas 3-Gun does it is it's tack ops only for women. So there you go. And then they compete against themselves. Next one I would say is heavy is a cool division at Texas 3-Gun because they have like the ability to shoot like a lot of distance. And 308, as I learned last year, I think it was last year, 2020. I think it was 2020. 308 is a different beast altogether, and I wish I could spend more time doing that because that was a ton of fun, and I would love to get more experience shooting heavy in that match. But I like Texas 3-Gun's division there as well because it's a tac ops shotgun, tac ops pistol, so you can shoot your normal semi-automatic shotgun, and you can shoot 9mm double stack, and all you need is a 308 rifle. So maybe we just call that DMR division. Shooting 45 would be cool, but there's never a reason to shoot 40. So there we go. All right. And then from there, I don't know. A couple years ago, Patrol Division was really fun at Colorado 3-Gun Championship. I bought a pump shotgun for that one. Used it in 2 matches, two major matches and several club matches, and unfortunately haven't used it again. Would like to shoot pump again. I guess now I think about it. See, I have a pump, but I don't have a 308. I don't know. I'm always 1/3 of the way to a heavy setup, I guess. But that was a fun division. There's probably some other divisions I'm forgetting off the top of my head. 2-Gun is an interesting division. I don't know. I would rather shoot. Everyone has 2-Gun gear. No match should ever have 2x4. PCC completely ruins the game of 3-Gun for everybody else. And that's kind of where I'm at with 2-Gun as well. Because once you say that, all targets are available with for 9mm instead of the shotgun, then you kind of have to change everything either to steel, and then you get rid of clays, and then you can't have flying clays, and that just makes it unenjoyable. So I don't know. I don't like 2x4 at all, and can't change my mind. But I will say that, not all divisions should be in every match. So I would say start with the big 3, limited, tack, and open, and go from there. I'm also for an all division match. Like, we've talked about it several times here on the show. James Gill, one of our friends, mentioned that he wants to see like an all open match where everybody shoots open gear. I think that's cool. That'd be a lot of fun. So I'm down for all tack, all limited, whatever you want to do. Sounds cool. Next question is from Ryan Bebop Langiel 223. Bebop is the coolest middle name I've ever seen. So Ryan Bebop says 16-inch barrel rifle or 18-inch barrel rifle. Let's see. I started out with a 16-inch rifle when I was shooting my quote-unquote tactical stuff when I first started shooting 3-Gun. When I first started shooting major matches and I realized that rifle was completely inadequate, I went to an 18-inch barrel, and that one's been the old standby. Like, I've shot a lot of different rifles in between, and I've always come back to that one just because it's stone cold reliable. I know it's always set up, and usually I have an optic zeroed on it, so it's always like, last minute, I can shoot that one. But last year I ran, or I guess 2 years ago, I built a 16-inch rifle off of an ADM receiver set, and I didn't quite get it right. I screwed up some things when I built it, and so it wasn't like quite perfect, but I haven't quite given that one up. Last year, when I worked for a rifle company, I ran a 14.5-inch prototype gun that I came up with, and that one was fantastic. Unfortunately, we didn't build that prototype into a production gun, Maybe I'll do a video about that one because I still have the gun because I bought it. So that's kind of cool. Or I guess I bought all the parts to build it. But anyway, so I shot the 14.5-inch prototype gun. That one was completely set up perfect. I liked the way I set that one up. Hit all the targets I needed to at the Wyoming Governor's match, which I believe we shot out to like 400 or something like that. And then I actually went 1-for-1 on the rifle on a long range stage at Gen 3. And that was that was a really proud moment for me. I've long struggled with long range and getting good at that. So 14.5 inches and going 1-for-1. I believe we went out to 500 or 510 or something like that. So that worked out well. So anyway, back to that rifle I built a couple years ago on the ADM receiver set. I'm going to be moving back to that one as well in a couple weeks here. So I have a new 16-inch barrel that I'm going to be putting in there and changing the gas block up to make it run right. So I'd have to say 16 inches. I'm going to go with 16. Final answer. All right. Our next question is from Sant LBC. And he says, I think 3-gun should go to hit factor scoring. Thoughts? Ooh, that's a good one. I could get down with that hit factor scoring. We'd have to, so in club matches it'd probably be pretty, I'm not saying easy, but it would be simpler to implement. But in major matches, I think we'd have to change a lot of things about the way that we run stuff. Cause like the big long jungle runs where you're shooting rifle and stuff, the whole point is to cover a lot of ground and shoot really fast. Right. And you can shoot really fast while still hitting the A zone, of course. But resetting becomes difficult now, right? Because in USPSA, everybody wants to see all their hits to make sure that they get all the points that they're allotted, right? And with us in 3-gun, we usually just show when you have a miss or when you have a no shoot or hard cover or something like that. And so that we'd have to change the way that we reset because pacing and scoring would be a little more difficult for us on that. But I could solely see it. I'd be down for that. We'd also have to change target presentations because some of the target presentations that we have in 3-gun are kind of goofy. And especially like when we shoot reduced targets, because then it has like an A zone that's like the size of a business card. And that seems kind of wonky. I'm sure that's against some sort of USPSA rule. But the like USSL, for example, like we have those target stacks that Pete likes to put together with strips of like 1 inch or 2 inch of scoring zone showing with no shoots behind it. That's a pretty clever presentation, but you can only do that if it's 2 anywhere because it doesn't show really any of the A zone. So, all right, next question. And this one is from EMG Laser Rice. M Glazer Rice. Laser Rice says, when you and Forrest, quote, share a room, who is Big Spoon? Forrest, always. Otherwise, I'd choke on his back hair. And it makes me feel dangerous, but safe at the same time. That's quite the personal question there. Thank you for that. Actually, in all seriousness, the last match we shot, Forrest and I traveled to Jeff Kirkwood Memorial match in Forest Lake, Minnesota, and we stayed at I always forget what it was, Marriott or something like that. Courtyard, Hamilton, doesn't matter. But the place we stayed, we met up with Chad Torres there, who flew in. We brought all his gear, and he flew in, and we met, and we all stayed at the same hotel room. So we got a rollaway bed, and so of course, when you're here's a pro tip: when you're gonna travel, always be the one that books the room, because then you get first choice of bed, and that is a rule that you have to specify as the person who sets it up. So first person who sets it up and throws it on the credit card gets to choose first. So I chose a bed, and then somehow Forrest got stuck with the folding bed, the rollaway bed that they brought in for us. And so the room is so small. It's actually smaller than the room I'm in right now, which is my downstairs living room where the 3-gun show studio is at now. The room was so small that we had to push the 2 queen beds aside so we could get Forrest rollaway bed in the middle. And then I was joking with people at the match that we just pushed them back together and made one big bed. But Forrest was actually on a different plane, about 1.5 feet low, so it was more of like just a dog bed at the foot of mine. Just kidding. All right, moving on. T Finner says, is the 3-gun recession due to waning interest / lack of organization, or because of COVID, ammo, etc.? Well, that's an interesting question and something I've been trying to figure out, and I'll give my impressions here. But it's hard to know, right? Because first of all, it's complicated, and then people don't show up. And then if people don't show up, then how can you get their opinion? So that part's kind of tough. So we're trying to figure out like market forces here. And I guess, first of all, like 3-Gun Nation carried a lot of the water for the sport, several years ago. Being on television, they brought in like a lot of people that wanted to shoot 3-gun because of the excitement of that. And a lot of people don't give them credit for that, but they definitely did, right? So that was like a rising tide that raised all ships. So there was a lot of interest in 3-gun, and the more people that came in, the more matches sprouted up, and they all filled, right? So that brought a ton of people in. So there was a ton of matches and and when you have a boom like that, obviously you don't have only quality, and it takes a while to separate out quality, right? And then, unfortunately, a couple great ranges have closed, and so those matches went away. Like Triple C, unfortunately, closed, so Vortex Shooter Source goes away. And then Rock Castle, one of the most amazing shooting destinations in the U.S., closed, so Pro-Am goes away, and Blue Ridge goes away, and stuff like that. So those are unfortunate things that happen. Those matches went away, and then people in those locales also don't have a match to go to, and then maybe the people that were shooting that match don't realize that there's other matches out there because we don't have like an organization, right? We only have word of mouth. We have Facebook, which squelches us. We have Practice Score, which a lot of people don't really know that they can go search Practice Score for matches, which boggles my mind. Like I tell people that all the time, and they'll even say like, yeah, I signed up for matches on Practice Score. I'm like, well, did you know you could search that? But yeah, it's tough. And also it would be nice if Practice Score had a calendar view. Like it's totally useful as it is. Obviously love Practice Score. It's free. I don't pay anything. Well, I guess I do have a membership to it, but, so it's hard to ask for more, but it would be cool if there was like a calendar view on there. But I think when 3-Gun Nation went away, first off, like they burned out a lot of sponsors because it was really expensive to participate in that because, it was on television and stuff like that. And then, prize tables were huge in matches all over the country, and that brought in like prize hunters, right? So people that didn't really shoot 3-gun because they love the sport, they were good at it. They were just there for the free shit, right? So now prize hunters have largely gone away. Prize tables are shrinking. I think that's a good thing. It's nice to get cool stuff, but realistically, when you think of like the cost of going to a match and figure you go to a match every month, just schedule yourself $12,000 a year to spend on your own gear, and then you get to buy what you want, right? So the people looking for just prizes are gone now, so that's a good thing. So now we have left the people that really care about 3-gun and really want to shoot 3-gun. All right. So that's what we're seeing is a market adjustment. And we've been seeing that over the last couple of years down to a natural level. When you have 180 major matches, made the number up, it's tough to sustain that when over a long term. Right. So, I also think it's tough to go to a match and see 60 or 100 competitors there and think well, this is a quality match. And then if you have 60 or 100 people coming to your party and you expected 500 or 200, then are you going to put on the best party? And so I think we're seeing some of that too. I don't know. What would you rather shoot? Would you rather shoot, 12 matches with 100 competitors or 8 matches with 500 competitors? So maybe the right level is that 8 major matches a year. All the club matches can, of course, we love club matches. We want those to exist. And they can, they can do their thing, of course, and we can attend those and we can have fun. So I think we're seeing a market adjustment there. Also, the effects of COVID, I'm glad you mentioned that, cannot be underestimated. There's a serious economic hit from COVID, right? And with the election that happened at the same time, all of the guns and ammo became scarce, right? So you have several things going on in the marketplace. A lot of factories retooled to make just whatever barrel they could instead of the nice barrels that we like, or Bolt Carrier Group or whatever, fill in the blank, right? And then people snatched them all up because they were pretty certain that the new administration was coming for their guns, and turns out they are. So they were right. Also, I think people that weren't economically affected by COVID, and turns out all of us are because of the crazy government spending and the inflation that's followed. But the people that think they weren't affected by COVID probably found out that they had like a lot more disposable income, and maybe that got earmarked for other things. Maybe someone bought a boat or a Jeep or something like that, and we might not see them again because they found a hobby that they can enjoy with either other people or even with family. And here's another one. Families have been cooped up for a year. And so when the restrictions were lifted, it's not like people could just say like, okay, cool, we're taking off and we're going to a match, because, wife and kids or husband and kids are left at home and you're going to a match. That seems super selfish, right? So now you got to do family vacation kind of thing. There's a readjustment period. We will see this sort itself out, but yeah, so we'll probably lose a lot of people there as well. The other thing is a lot of people are like starting to age out. And by age out, I mean, go to college, right? Mom and dad are no longer paying for ammo and guns. So now that you have to go and learn, and if you want to shoot a match, you got to pay for it on your own. I don't know about you. I was pretty broke in college. Even though I had a job, and a lot of my money went to rent and tuition, and I had hardly any disposable income. And what's the other one? Disposable age now. Oh yeah. So, there's people in there, that, were shooting in their 20s and they're starting to make money. So now they have disposable income. Those people got married, looking at you, Tiffiner. And those people got married, and some of them had kids, and now those kids are like at the age where life revolves around kids. So you're running to soccer, or maybe taking them to steel challenge matches or something like that, or hunting or fishing or whatever, doing family things, and, being good parents as it were. So we're not gonna see those people for a while. So I think there's a lot of factors going in here happening all at once. And then of course, ammo's a great excuse. It does make matches much more expensive. I would recommend shooting less matches than you normally would, but not just stopping shooting matches altogether. So if you normally shoot 6, you can shoot 2. If you normally shoot 3, you can shoot 1. But the thing you got to think about is if someone normally shoots 6 matches and they're only shooting 2, that's 4 people, four shooters missing from 4 matches, right? So add that up across a lot of people, and that's what you get. Good question. Kind of sad. Thanks for bringing it down. All right. Our next one is from our buddy Jeremy M. Gresham. Jeremy says, what could USPSA do in the rule set to win back multi-gun? This is another complicated one. We got 2 complicated ones right in a row. So for me, I'm not 100% familiar with the rule set. It's been a long time since I shot a USPSA match. I used to shoot club matches that were run under USPSA. The first 2 major matches I shot were the Colorado Multi-Gun Championships, and those were under USPSA, but it's been a long time since I read the rule set, so forgive me here. But for me, it's not the rule set. It's all the stories I've heard of ROs being a-holes and being DQ happy. Even before I started the 3-gun show, like even back when I first started shooting 3-gun, before I even thought, hey, I'm going to travel for a major match, I heard stories of people going to USPSA Multi-Gun Championships in Las Vegas, and getting DQ'd, seeing ROs in the hotel parking lot, drinking and talking about their body count, how many people they DQ'd and the best DQs they had and stuff like that. And that does not sound appealing to me. And once those stories spread, it doesn't sound appealing to a lot of people. You know, that's not a good environment, because you got to remember, like, this is customer service, you know, and your ROs, volunteers or paid, whatever, they're customer service representatives. They're the people that are touching your customers being the shooters, the competitors. So when the ROs show disdain for competitors, that's bad. That's really bad. That's a culture problem. Probably comes from the top down. Thought that was going to fix under Foley when he came in, because he claimed that he was a 3-gunner and had actually shot 3-gun outside of USPSA, but I don't think it did. The other thing is, when they moved from Las Vegas to Florida, now you're looking at a whole different market, right? Because the people that would normally go to Las Vegas are people that could drive from California, could drive from Utah, could fly from Denver for $70. And now you're going to Florida. And I believe it's a Universal Shooting Academy, or it was. And that's like a completely different sort of financial outlay for that. And so maybe it just fell off the calendar for a lot of people. And then the people that were on the East Coast, I don't know, maybe they weren't interested in it because of the same thing they heard. Who knows? But as far as rules go, I think the preloading thing needs to be addressed. As far as preloading shotguns and handling guns, for some godforsaken reason, if you touch a gun in USPSA, it's the worst thing you can possibly do. Now, I just shot a NRL Hunter match, and I somehow, being the only guy shooting a semi-automatic, managed to not shoot anyone the entire time. I know, it was crazy. It was 2 days. I didn't shoot one person. And even in that one, you know, when you move from position to position in NRL, it's not like you're moving from position to position in 3-gun where you have to, like, you know, move a great distance and maneuver around. You're basically like prone one space and then moving 3 foot over and going prone again. So, like, you stand up, you pick up your rifle, which is on a tripod, you move it, and then you lie down behind it. So as a semi-automatic shooter, I had to shout safe every time I put my gun on safe, which is no big deal. I could do that, but nobody else did. Nobody else had to shout bolt open or anything like that when they were moving. So I thought that was kind of silly, but, you know, it's a rule I could get behind because it's not that big of a deal. But again, we were handling guns behind the firing line all day. You know, we moved around in between stages all day, carrying our guns, no cases, no slings, just holding them. And most people were holding them horizontal, and nobody shot anyone. So USPSA, I know that, you know, they have a long-standing safety record, and that's fantastic because we don't want people to get hurt, because that's super bad for people's longevity when they get shot. And also, it's not good for the sport, right? So I get that. But that said, like, got to loosen up a little bit somehow. You know, that there has to be some concessions made there. And preloading shotguns, I think, is one of the big ones. Also, if we don't want to preload shotguns and we want to just bring them up to the line and load them, I'm fine with that too. Because with quad loading and with open shotguns now, I don't think it takes that much time. I think the preloading started like back in the day when we were weekend loading, and it took someone, you know, 30 seconds to load their shotgun. We don't necessarily do that anymore. So maybe that's an issue that doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. But for the large part, I would say that USPSA doesn't seem to care about 3-gun. So I think they lost 3-gun market because of that. They had one match each year, one major match each year, the championship, and then one area match. I think it was just Area 6, I believe. And I believe that was just because Shannon Smith was at Universal Shooting Academy and he wanted to do it. I might have my areas wrong, so don't quote me on that. But the other thing would be World Shoot Selection. World Shoot Selection is not fair at all. They send the best pistol shooters in the world to go and shoot shotgun. or they send people that have the money to do it. They don't have any sort of way of choosing who the best rifle or shotgun shooters are. And the best rifle or shotgun shooters come from 3-gun. They don't come from pistol sports. So there's that one. But I guess what can as far as like what can they do going forward? Admit that they didn't care in the past, but they want to focus on 3-gun going forward, or at least they want to provide opportunities for 3-gun, and then reach out to existing matches and existing competitors to try and see what they can do to create a relationship. And I'm open to it. I don't think USPSA is a bad thing. I think there are several vocal bad actors in USPSA, but there's that in a lot of things too. And we had that in 3-gun for a long time. And I think for a large part, the market's adjusted and those people are gone. So there you go. I'm open to it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. Next question here. B Dunka says preferred loading method, strong hand or weak hand. Okay. I'm guessing we're talking about shotgun here. I started shooting shotgun with the weak hand shuffle. So basically you grab 4 stacked side by side in your left hand or in your weak hand for me, which is my left. And then you shuffle them like you're shuffling cards into your tube underneath. So when I went to loading 2, which is 2 shotgun shells stacked end to end, I used the method that James Casanova showed me, which was using my strong hand, which is my right hand. And the reasons that he gave for that made a lot of sense at the time. You can navigate obstacles, walls, things like that very well while you're loading and while you're moving, and control your the muzzle of your shotgun. So that worked out really well. So I thought that was a compelling thing, and that's the way that I started doing that. And then somewhere along the way, when I started shooting a bunch of major matches, Andy Peterson made a really good argument for weak hand loading being faster, because your loading port is closer to your belt where your shells are coming from. And I thought that made a lot of sense. And at the matches that we shot at the time, which a lot of them were like 3-gun nation style matches, which had some really good base stage designs, like really fast, cool stuff, and you had to load really fast, I thought that made sense. So I switched when I got the Invictus Practical carriers, and I just set them up that way, and I've been doing it ever since. So now I will say that if you load off a chest rig, strong hand makes sense because the shells are closer to your loading port. But if you load off your belt, I say weak hand because the loading port is closer to your belt. So that's what I say right there. Figure out which one works best for you. The other reason that I chose to do it, and this is totally, tack-to-bro kind of thing, is every other gun I load with my weak hand, my left hand. And keeping hand on fire control is a good thing, right? In the tactical environment. So I figured I'll keep my hands on the fire control. This way, it'll be good to go. So that worked out well. So sum it up, look at the matches that you shoot and look at your gear and then figure it out for yourself. All right. So we're running about 30 minutes here. So what I'm going to do one more question, and then we'll save the rest of these for next time. Let's pick a fast one here. Okay, here's a good one. Hollow Point Trich, why the hate on angled foregrips? Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we do kind of hate on angled foregrips a lot here on the 3-Gun Show. The reason being, they're completely unnecessary. So my wrist bends, my weak hand wrist that I grab my rifle forend with, it bends. And I'm able to bend it around the handguard, and I don't need an angled foregrip. So I think it's just a superfluous thing. It's not really necessary. I like to run my rifle slick, which means I don't have anything on there that I don't need on there. I don't run backup sights. I don't run 45-degree sights. I just like to have the least possible things on there. I won't have a sling on there if I don't need to. So there you go. The other big thing is that it gets in the way when addressing shooting positions, which may not be that big of a deal in like a club match, but in major matches, a lot of times you shoot from a rooftop or from a barricade, and sometimes you can't get your rifle in the port that you're trying to shoot from when you got an angled foregrip on there, or it doesn't sit right, or you can't get it to stay stable. You can't clamp it in to the shooting position. It just gets in the way when working with barricades. But again, that's my experience. That's in major matches, and maybe that isn't necessarily the same thing where you're at. So that said, if you like it, shoot it. Just go ahead and keep doing it, and that's enjoy yourself. That's what this is all about. So I think that's where we're going to end it here. One thing I do want to say before we go is generally when I talk about shooting 3-gun matches, I'm talking about major matches and not club matches. So if you're like, well, I don't want you changing stuff in my club. No, I totally understand. Generally talking about major matches, and then club matches, I think you should be able to really do whatever you want. Think about that as like playing golf with your buddies versus the PGA Tour. And if you need a better explanation on that, I'll do it on the next episode of the 3-Gun Show. But for now, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the range.